Hello, John Bloodworth, Gentleman Crafter, back with more fun with foundation paper piecing, this time number 26, which is actually called Turnstile Block. So we've got three colours involved here, nice and simple to cut and create, and it's formed of two sections. So I've already cut my pieces of fabric according to the pattern sheet, which you can download from my website gentlemancrafter.com. So there's an A piece and a B piece, and they are joined diagonally. So we'll start by constructing the A piece. A1 is numbered, so that's where we start. And we turn it over so we work on the back. And I'm just applying a tiny bit of fabric glue so that when I position my first piece, it will hold it in place. Now we line this up with the solid edge of the outline and also with the red dashed line that's printed on the pattern. So it's slightly over on the right, but that's because this piece is slightly bigger than we need. Now for piece 2, that is going to go on top of piece 1, but with right side facing down. And we'll position it centrally on the pattern, and we need to just make sure that point is kind of horizontal with the point in the pattern. And it's close enough for me, so I'm going to pin it in place and stitch. Now you'll be stitching on the dashed lines, the black dashed lines that separate each section. So in this case, the part that separates A1 from A2. You'll start stitching at the beginning of that line and finish at the end. Try and avoid going over where possible. You'll need a short stitch spacing, so I've got my machine set to 1.6. Oops, I actually did go over there. Press the wrong button. Trim your threads as you work, keeps it neat and also stops those threads showing through when you start sewing other sections in place. Fold this back and either finger press or press with an iron or some other heated pressing tool. Couldn't think of the name then. Heat press, whatever you call it. Anyway, section 3 next, A3. So we get our third colour. Now that sits on top like that, so we can fold it back like this. And then we've got the point and the edges of the previous triangle to line that up with, so it's much easier to position. And you can see how the bunny ears towards the right there also line up. We're sewing along the line that separates A2 from A3. Tack stitch or reverse stitch at the start and end. That locks things in place. Got a piece of fabric caught there. Okay, so again we're folding this back, and this one should come into contact with or go beyond the solid outline of that block. If it doesn't, but it does fall within the seam allowance, it's absolutely fine. Next up, A4. But what I'm going to do is actually fold back along that line using a piece of card as a helping hand. And then I'm going to grab my add a quarter ruler and just trim with a rotary tool. This gives me a straight edge and a precise 1/4 inch seam allowance to position the next piece on. So we'll position that centrally on top of the two pieces we've already stitched. And you can see how that, as we're looking at it, that bottom edge lines up with the previous large blue piece as well. There's a couple of visual guides for you there. Now we're stitching on that line that separates the previous two from section A4. While I'm doing that, let me remind you that I have a Facebook group where people are sharing the blocks that they make and some of the projects that are being created using various different combinations of these blocks. So if you'd like to join up and share yours, please feel free. You can find it on Facebook, or there'll be a link below the video in the description on YouTube, or of course on the accompanying post on my website, gentlemancrafter.com. Look for the post titled Fun with Foundation Paper Piecing 26. In fact, any of them. Fold back and press this one in place, as we have been doing. Grab our next piece. That's going to go on top. And you'll see again how those bunny ears match up. They give us a nice visual clue that we're in the right area. Stitching along the line that separates A4 from A5. And again, always take your time to get this bit right, because this is the crucial bit. Stitching on the line, not either side, and stitching from start to finish, not beyond. The other key factor is just having those 1/4 inch trimmed lines to work to. Folding back and pressing, and you'll see how that comes just to the edge of the solid outline for the block. And then one final piece for this section, and that will be A6. Now sometimes even I get confused, so I try and position it with the right side facing up as it would appear, and then I fold back on the obvious line where those two pieces meet. Final stitched line on this section between A5 and A6. And then we're folding back and pressing, and you can see how that covers the remainder of the pattern. Pressing it in place. And then the next step would be to trim back to the solid outline of that block. So for that I'm just using a regular quilting ruler and rotary cutting blade. And then we do have notched corners, so we will just cut those as well. I didn't bother with the ruler for those, I just kind of went for all freehand. Just watch your fingers when you're doing this. So that's the first of our sections done. We then repeat that for the B section, which I've got here. And as if by magic, I've now sewn. And then basically we will stitch them together. So A goes kind of top and B bottom. So we turn them over. And then I would basically take part A and place it on top of part B. Make sure all of the seams and things are matched up. Especially that center one, because that's where all the points are going to meet for your turnstile. Then I'm going to pin it and stitch along the dashed line that joins the two blocks together. So that will be along the longest edge of the triangle. Boink. For this you might want to increase the stitch spacing a little, maybe to 2, because there's a lot of bulk involved and things can get a bit bunched up if you don't. Final trimming of the threads, and then we're going to unpin it, open it out and use a finger pressing tool or something similar to separate out and open flat that center seam. That center area is quite bulky because you've got the paper and a whole bunch of different fabrics all meeting at the same place. Do what you can with this finger presser, and then we're going to give it a press with the iron as well, just to be doubly sure, and set that stitching in place. Keep the fabric flat. Mind your fingers. And then I would usually turn it over and give it a press from the front as well. And there you have your finished turnstile block. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up and of course subscribe for more from me. In the meantime, thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon.